Hey y'all, welcome to my new podcast. There's a Lesson Here somewhere where we dive into TV shows and films published strictly on Tubi. We explore the good, the bad, and find the meaning all in between. I'm your host, Smangiee, and welcome to my very first episode. Before we get into the first series we're going to review, I know many of you are wondering, why Tubi? I chose to dive into films and TV shows published strictly on Tubi because one, it's free, so we all have access to it. Disclaimer, you do have to watch commercials, so that's actually how you pay. You pay with your time, but that's like watching regular TV, right? Not to mention, Tubi has a reputation for only putting out just low quality, low budget films and TV shows, and that's just not the case. Like, yes, some of the things on there are lower quality, but that's also because we have a lot of independent filmmakers putting themselves out there and, like Diamond said, using what they got to get what they want. So they're using their resources that they have available, creating, bringing their ideas to life, and then Tubi is giving them the platform to show the world. So I think that's dope. And this is my way of supporting. So, for this first episode, we're going to dive into the TV series Demascus. Now, Demascus was originally an AMC series, but I guess Tubi bought it because now it's a Tubi original. For the first season, there are 6 episodes, and each episode is under 30 minutes, including the commercials. So, you'll only need like 3 hours to finish the entire first season. That's light work. That's light work. You can do that. And yes, I have my notes so I won't forget anything. Let's get started. So, for the description of Damascus, it says a 33-year-old black man on a Know Thyself mission begins an experimental immersion therapy that sends him into alternate timelines of his own life. That is what got me. That's why I wanted to start with this series because this is something I'm interested in. So the first episode is titled Pilot because it's the pilot and it gets right to business. Starts off with Damascus in therapy. So of course we're introduced to Damascus and we're also introduced to his therapist. Now there was like little things that were shown so we can kind of get an idea off top of who Damascus is as a character. So they showed us like him overhearing his coworkers and they were saying things like, that's how Damascus is with everybody laughing while he in a cut like what that's supposed to mean. That alone let us know that Damascus is a bit different. We also learn a lot more about this immersive therapy that was stated in the description, and which is titled DIRT, and that stands for Digital Immersive Reality Therapy. Now, I want to say within like the first 10 minutes, it's locked in. We already get into his first reality. So if you're a fan of like fast starts, this is a great show for you. So now we're in the first reality, in which in this reality he has a sister named Shayna. Damascus in this reality I wasn't too fond of because I feel like I want my brother to be a lot more protective, right? So in this first reality, Shayna is obviously bruised up. We also learn that she's pregnant because she tells Damascus, and then we also learn that her now baby daddy is the cause for these bruises. So me as a woman, I'm like, action first, talk later. Go get him. But Damascus is different and he just asking questions and he just, I don't know, to me, he just wasn't taking this seriously. I'll show you. Look at this.
Drew did that?
I was finna call the police. And I don't want him dead. Not yet. But still, he gotta pay, so I'm gonna need you to write out on that nigga.
That sound like a job for Uncle 40.
Right. So eventually he's like, I guess I'll go try and do something, but I have to, find somebody to go with me. I can't do it on my own. So now we're introduced to other people, and that we'll see throughout the series. The first person is Damascus' best friend, Red. So Red is probably one of my favorite characters from this series. In this first reality, he's one of those hood dudes who's like now an expert at like code switching, but he just yearned for some nigga shit. So when Damascus asked him about this, he was like, "Hell yeah, count me in. Yeah, yeah. When you want to do this, let's do it." So I love that right away. Also, we see just how futuristic the setting is. I'll show you a clip of where Red is leaving like the golf course, and he just like opens the door.
That's a great stance, Greg.
You a mixed company or something?
Nigga, I am the mixed company. But what up, though? Spit a minute.
Yeah. I'm terrible at keeping in touch, man. Look.
So, like I said before, Damascus is recruiting for this mission. So now we learn about Uncle 40, who they did mention earlier, but now we get to meet him. And Uncle 40 is with the shits. He's my kind of uncle. I feel like we all need an uncle like Uncle 40. He don't play about family, and he's like an old gangster, but now he's an old head. And I can't think of what it's called, but he has to wear those pouches where it like holds your bowel movements and like your urine. And I guess you have to like empty it out, sorry, every day. But he has to wear that. That's important, okay? So Red pulls up to pick up Demascus and Uncle 40 for this great mission. And he's like in this futuristic car because he's a public defender, I forgot to mention. So he got the money. He's playing his role in society and he's getting his money. And so once Demascus and Uncle 40 get in the car, we meet a new contender, and that's Lil Spoon. So Lil Spoon, to sum it up, he's a YN. I think like Red got him out or something, so he's like returning a favor, and he's low key forced to do this, but he's cool, and I feel like he's the perfect person to have on this mission. You know, he's one of those YNs who don't like care to enunciate. You either understand or you don't, but either way, get the fuck out his face. So while they're in the car, preparing, going over details to like go run up and do something about what happened to Shayna, we learned that everyone brought a piece except for Demascus because you know he's different. And with him being different, he's like, "Hey guys, I don't think we need this. We don't need guns. Like we can go up there and just use our words." And Uncle 40, the YN, and even Red is like, "What? What if he got a gun?" Needless to say, we see everyone leave their weapon except for Lil Spoon. That's important too. So they finally made it to Drew's house, who is Shayna's baby daddy. It's funny because also I forgot to mention that this is a comedy show, so it's hilarious. This show is hilarious. They make it to Drew's house. They see that there's no elevator, or at least the elevator is broken. So now everyone has to climb up like a million flights of stairs. And this part cracked me up because like you got the old head Uncle 40, and you got Demascus who's 30 something, you got Red who's 30 something, and they all just out of breath, out of shape, and just barely lasting. While the YN, he's just I'm gonna show you. Like that was nothing for him, but that cracked me up the way they was looking at him. So now they finally get into Drew's apartment. Again, Drew's the baby daddy, and everyone's trying to go their own route and trying to be, aggressive, which is hilarious to me. While Drew, he's just a cutie patootie. So immediately we like, oh, like what? Like it didn't make sense after you seen Drew. Like why would this person hit his baby mother? Like he doesn't seem like the type. And so like they all enter in the house and he's just like, hey guys, like, and then he meets Little Spoon for the first time. And this part cracked me up. Look at this.
Hey, don't I know you?
You don't know me, cuz.
Nah, you look real familiar.
You fucking sock out. You know what the fuck you talking about? Shut the fucking roll up, nigga.
Okay.
Little Spoon's like, get the fuck over here. So they sit down. Damascus is speaking to Drew, in which we learn that Drew actually acted in self-defense. Right. So Shayna, she was wildin'. She actually stabbed Drew and was beating the fuck out of him. So he had to choke her in order to get her to stop. I don't condone any domestic violence, by the way. So now once Red, Damascus, and Little Spoon hear it, they're more understanding. During this conversation, Uncle 40 was in the bathroom. I told you Uncle 40 is with the shits and he don't play about his family. So he came out and he said they was on some kumbaya shit. He like, I don't give a fuck what Shayna did. You shouldn't have put your hands on my niece. So he whips out his knife and he's trying to stab him. And, everybody's like trying to calm him down. So I think it was like Lil Spoon or somebody. They like rolled up and was like, here, eat, hit this. Like take a chill pill. So he's like, all right. So Uncle 40, he has his joy, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but again, I told you earlier he was trying to stab him. So he sits down and somehow punctures that little pouch that's holding all that gross shit in it, and it sprays on everyone. And then, except for Little Spoon at this time, but then something happened where it ended up getting on Little Spoon, and so Little Spoon started freaking out. Mind you, he's the only one who brought in the gun. So he's freaking out. He falls on the floor. His gun falls out of his pants and goes off. Y'all, he accidentally shoots Drew in the fucking head. Yo, I just fell in love with this cutie patootie. What do you mean? And I know he about to be a good dad. Like, and then the episode ends. Y'all, I was stressed. And I completely forgot that it was an alternate reality because what is going on? So that basically sums up the first episode. And if you can't tell now, there's nothing but spoilers in these episodes. So you are expected to watch the series or film before we dive in on There's a Lesson Here somewhere. So if you haven't watched Demascus yet, take this moment, give us a pause. Go take 3 hours and finish the series, come back, and let's continue with that. So now we're about to get into episode 2. So for this first episode, it starts off by reminding us that what just happened was an alternate reality and wasn't real. Thank God. We also learned that Damascus don't have a sister in real life, which I thought was interesting. And he was kind of confused by this too because like in the alternate reality with his sister Shayna, there was just like a whole history, a whole connection. It was just a feeling of it being real and just the history and everything. But I guess that's why it's just like an alternate reality because in that reality it is real. So after this, the therapist offers or tells Damascus to use this like tether, in which is basically used to collect data on Damascus so that the therapist could understand him better, I believe. And these again, this is futuristic shit. So like it's like in what is those like the AirPods? Like you put one of those things in your ear and it like talks to you and asks you questions and he's just supposed to answer it. So he's supposed to like use that tether daily so the therapist could like know why these realities are being created or have a better understanding as to why these alternate realities are being created the way they are. Another thing I love about this is like again, we in the future. So everyone kind of has like a it's kind of like an Alexa, but instead of Alexa, it's their name is Shekinah, and I love it. It's so black. And with me saying it's so black, like she speaks like a black lady too. So like if you got a little attitude, she's like and I'm just like I kind of like that. So in the second episode, we actually learn about Buddy. Buddy is Damascus' girlfriend. So while we're being introduced to Buddy, we kind of get an idea of her character. She is like a tech savvy type girl. She's the one who is using tech to her advantage and just love change in a sense where she kind of encourages Damascus to use like these new technologies. She was telling him to use something to redecorate his home while Damascus wasn't really interested because he's an artist. So he kind of want that human touch. He want to do shit himself and have these ideas on his own. And like while she's talking and stuff, he kind of zones out, in which we learn that these are kind of like the side effects to the tethering. So he's supposed to report this back to his therapist. So now we meet Red again, but this time in Damascus' real life, in which he's still cool as shit. So they're on a virtual call, like a FaceTime or whatever, a Skype, and we see his daughter and stuff. And Red named his daughter Tarantula. Like I think that's cool. I don't think I would name my daughter Tarantula, but I think that's cool. So we learned that Red is actually an artist in Damascus' real life, and he's throwing an art show, and he's trying to get Damascus to come, but Damascus didn't want to, so he used Tarantula to guilt trip him into coming. While Damascus and Red are at the art show, we are introduced to Naomi. Naomi is just a beautiful black woman who just gets Damascus' attention. So now we can kind of see that, like, one, I forgot about Buddy at this point because, like, Damascus was so focused on Naomi. And I'm realizing that, like, him going with Buddy was kind of because he felt like he should because of the, what does they call it? Because of the algorithm. But then he, meets Naomi for the first time and it kind of looks like love at first sight, if you ask me. So Naomi was a performer at Red's art show, and now Damascus wasn't trying to go to the art show, so he already told Buddy he wasn't coming. He wasn't coming, but Buddy is friends with Red's girlfriend, so Buddy came to the art show with Red's girlfriend, of course, and seen Buddy there, so she was like pissed, like, why didn't you tell me you were coming? I thought you were staying in. We could have came as a couple. Side note, I did love Naomi's performance. I love the fact that she was using her hair with paint. I'll show a little clip. Love the Fela Kuti. So once, Buddy again shows up with Red's girlfriend, we kind of see what it looks like when people are actually into each other. Like her and Red are all over each other, just tons of PDA. We learned that most of his art, Red's art, was inspired by his girlfriend. And I just thought it was cute, like a little freaky cute, where it's like, okay, these are two people who belong together. Compared to Damascus and Buddy, whereas like Buddy is, giving her all for sure, where Damascus obviously isn't interested, but he feels like he should say, and they will speak more on this later on. So once Damascus get back to therapy, again, he has the tether and stuff, so the therapist is learning more without him saying it. So now the therapist knows about Buddy. I gotta keep my hood up, I'm Mary Magdalene right now. And that's when the therapist is like, why haven't you mentioned your girlfriend to me? And he's just like, actions speak louder than words. He's obviously not interested in Buddy, even though she's obviously attractive and everything. He's basically is sticking with her because again, Buddy is super tech savvy, so she believes in the algorithm. Well, while Damascus is just like, all right, since the algorithm says we belong together, we should stay together. And he was saying little shit like
The only potential issue is that I feel like I like her less and less every day. But not by a lot, only an infinitesimal amount. And the rate it's decreasing, it'll probably be, 50, 60 years before it runs out. So
That's fucked up.
Me and the therapist was like, oh, hell no, like let Buddy go. So the episode ends with Damascus entering a new alternate reality. And of course, he's married to Naomi and they got a baby. So for episode 3, they kind of break down all of the characters, all the main characters, and they kind of just dive into their life a little bit more, starting with Buddy. So Buddy and Damascus are talking to Red and his girl, I believe, just based on like it's like a little couple night, like at one of their houses, and they're just talking about like fate. And then so basically Damascus is saying they met by fate, while Buddy is saying it was all the algorithm. And then they came to the conclusion that it was a little bit of both, because the algorithm brought Buddy to the establishment that Damascus was at, while Damascus wasn't using the algorithm and was just happened to be there. So that's why they say it was kind of a little bit of both. Either way, Damascus is not feeling Buddy, and we're gonna learn a little bit more exactly that. Like what man act this way towards their girl? Like Damascus is kind of given in like true, like real prude, and like anytime Buddy show affection or whatever, he's just like he don't like her. And then again, like if you compare it to like Red and his girl, it's like kind of obvious, and Buddy is kind of picking up on that as well. Like let me show y'all this clip.
grab it, grab it. Ooh, that booty good, you gotta have it, have it. So grab it, grab it. Ooh, that pussy tasting like some magic. So grab it, grab it, I grab it, grab it. Ooh, that booty good, I gotta have it, have it.
So Buddy at this point, because she's with Red and her friend and Damascus, and she see Damascus kind of being dismissive and kind of essentially turned off by her, while Red and his girl is just all over each other. So she like, let me take my man out back, like maybe let me see if I can still get it right. So they get to the back, they get to like some room. I think they're at her house or Buddy house. They're at one of their homes while the friends are in the living room. They probably fucking in the living room, like knowing they ass. Well, what I know in the series. So to me, I don't think it was a big deal to be doing it like that. So, but for Damascus, of course, he was weirded out. But again, he don't like Buddy, so of course he gonna be weirded out. So she was trying to do like have a little quickie in a bedroom, and he stopped. He was like, no. So then when they went back with the friends, like it was really bothering Buddy, so she wouldn't let it go. Understandably so. She ain't letting it go. So when she go back out, she like, all right, y'all, let's play a game. let's play. I got a game. And so during this game, she kind of just asked Damascus straight up, like, why you ain't want to do me? And then Rednum is all, now they tuned in, like, well, Damascus, like, why you ain't want to do her? And at this point, I'm kind of questioning if Damascus is like probably on the spectrum, just because I don't know his delayed to like social norms. I guess it shows in this episode. Like he was just saying things like, but it's Buddy. Like he didn't want to do it because it was like Buddy. And she was like, what the fuck is that supposed to be? Like the way she said it though.
It's Buddy,
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Okay. That had me cracking up because bitch, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? So then after that, like we learned that Damascus is also the type though to not truly take accountability for anything, because he blamed Buddy going off and everything on Red. Like, and Red to me looks like he was just trying to be a supportive friend. He went off because he was like, how you telling me to go after Naomi, but then you telling me to do this with Buddy? And to me, Red is like, yo, I'm gonna support you to do whatever you want to do. Like, but at some point, you gotta hold yourself accountable, because at the end of the day, you're making a decision for your life. So now we're back in therapy, and the therapist now is kind of wondering what his mother relationship is like. Like she's realizing that whatever is going on has to deal with Damascus' relationship with his mother, which is usually always the case. So after that, Damascus is at work, and remember in the first episode where it started with the coworker saying, like, how Damascus is. Damascus decided to go ask, coworker, how am I? And he do ask his black male coworker, and he kind of gave it to him straight. And they were saying that Damascus like suffered, I guess is the right word to say, from like white or mansplaining and like white man syndrome. So like basically he was essentially saying that Damascus was navigating the workspace as a white man. And he also like, kind of reminds Damascus that like although we are in tech, we still kind of have to be human. And shout out to Demascus because he actually took the constructive criticism and used it. So he was doing a presentation in which at first it went south, which is why he ended up asking his friend, like, what do you mean? Like, you know how Damascus is? Because everyone was kind of just against him. I didn't really see it at first, but he was trying to encourage black women into like becoming astronauts, I believe it was. And so the person, his supervisor, I'm assuming, was another POC. She was Asian. And she was just like, if I was a black woman, this wouldn't pull me in. And at first I was just like, girl, what? But then I get it after the friend broke it down. I was like, okay, so that's why everybody was acting that way towards him. So they reconvened and then he did the presentation all over again with a better image to, I guess, present. And then at that point everyone was like rocking with him. And he was like, okay, Damascus is being a human. So now, like, Damascus is kind of feeling a little bit better about himself, especially since his coworkers, like, kind of approved of him now. So now we enter another reality. And in this reality, Damascus is like a preacher of some sort and or like a pope, I don't know, but he was a religious figure in which Naomi, of course, I think she was like a nun or something. And then Red is in this reality. He's like the security guard of the church. And like Red, like he is in all realities for Damascus, is like super supportive. And he see that like, you know, Damascus and Naomi are like into each other in this reality. And he's like, you know, preacher, go ahead. Go ahead. I ain't gonna say nothing. Go ahead. Do what you gotta do. Cause she wants you. She ready for you. And at this point, it's obvious that Damascus is into Naomi way more than he is in Buddy in all the realities because this is how a man acts when he's into you, okay? So they ended up, Damascus and Naomi, they, in this reality, he's a preacher, she's a nun, they are like talking, and they ended up getting freaky. I mean, there's not a sex scene or anything, but it alludes to them being freaky. And then he comes in the next day and they basically sent her somewhere else because they said it was like the Russian guy, I think, had snitched on them. Because Red, you know, he said he had his back. He ain't gonna tell nobody. But then since they, you know, snitched, they shipped Naomi out. And that was the end of the episode. Actually, that wasn't the end of the episode. The end of the episode, we see Damascus obviously upset with himself. So to, I guess, essentially punish himself, we see him whipping himself. I know I said himself a lot, but this motherfucker is whipping himself and it's like literally creating webs on his back. Like he's really harming himself. And then the episode ends. Now we're getting into episode 4, which is the Thanksgiving episode. You know, we already know the premise of this show. Damascus is trying to know thyself, trying to figure himself out. So, of course, people who are going through these motions tend to be a little bit more depressed during the holidays. Again, we learned that his mom has passed as well, so that contributes to, I guess, the holiday depression, I would call it. So for Thanksgiving, Damascus wants to be alone, but he got people who love him in his life, like Red, in which he's like, come over. Ain't you about to kick it with me and my family like we do all the time? We know that Damascus is depressed also because he's watching these little sad ass holiday videos. So that kind of gives the energy of depressed. And then he turns down again Red's invite because Red called him and invited him over to Thanksgiving. He's like, nah. Instead, Damascus goes and calls his therapist and I think he said a lie, basically. I think he was like, oh, like, I left the tether in the office or something like that. Essentially, Damascus was breaking in so he could enter a different reality, basically to escape his current reality. In this reality, he is gay. I don't know. I thought that was dope. And his partner is fucking Red. Like this series is just getting better and better with each episode, y'all. So yeah, Damascus is gay and his partner is Red. And in this particular reality, it's Thanksgiving still. So they're getting ready for Thanksgiving dinner with Red's parent. And so Red is kind of all over the place, which I feel like that's his energy in all realities. They have this historical skillet in their family that they use during the holidays and which is like the cornbread skillet. Red put that skillet in the dishwasher and the dishwasher ruined the skillet. So he's freaking out because he know how his mama is. His mama is Lynn Whitfield. If that should alone should encourage you to watch the series. So Damascus being the loving boyfriend he is in this reality, he's like, yo, just tell your mom it can't be that big of a deal, right? Just tell her I did it. And he's like, Red is like, you sure? And he's like, yeah. How bad could it be? So Damascus has a sister in this reality as well. We have the sister there. We have Uncle 40 here at Thanksgiving dinner. We have Red's mom and dad, in which they're all sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner. And then the mom, Lynn Whitfield, noticed, she was like, wait, hold up. My cornbread skillet is round. Why is this cornbread squared? What's going on, Red? And that's when she learned that Damascus put the skillet in the dishwasher, and that set her off. Because I told you, this skillet has been in their family since slavery, she said. Like, let me put a little clip in how she read fucking Damascus in his life or in this reality.
Centuries of seasoning in that black metal forged by Abraham Elijah Mingo Nantucket like a sorcerer with his bare hands until today, until this Thanksgiving. Damascus. Everybody knows. Everybody. You don't put the skillet in the fucking dishwasher.
And Uncle 40 still don't play in any y'all realities as well, because he was like, hold up, you ain't about to be talking to my nephew like that, homegirl. And no, he stood up for his nephew. And this scene honestly reminded me of a scene, rest in peace, Bernie Mac, from House Party 3. Like, he was like, your mama with your black dust arrested. Let me put that clip in.
Sit down, Witch Hazel.
Who are you talking to?
Talking to you.
Look, don't you talk about you your mama with him, you black, dusty, rusty ass.
Whoa! My mama dead. Now I got to cut you. That's the rule. Cut you.
So once like Damascus and Red is alone again, Damascus is pissed because he didn't realize the history of the skillet. He felt like Red should have gave him a heads up. He actually feel like he was set up at this point. Side note, I really love the song choice. The que sera, sera, whatever would be, would be. I learned that song from the TV series From. So the fact that it was in here and it was recreated by Sly and the Family Stone, I had to add it to my playlist. After Uncle 40 was trying to, look out for Damascus, again, it kind of created a little bit of tension, but then everybody made up, in the words of Uncle 40.
Football brings niggas together.
So at this point, Red's dad is like, yo, Damascus, I know that wasn't you with the skillet in there. And he was like, I know my son. I know he could be a fuck up. So you got to decide if you're going to choose to continue to live life this way, knowing that this is the type of person he is. So you're going to have to commit to kind of picking up his shit, picking up his slack. Which I thought was a very insightful conversation. I feel like it was constructive actually. And then now we're getting closer to the end of the episode where Red and Damascus kind of have a heart to heart. Again, they get in this reality. So I was like watching so close. I'm like, are they about to kiss? They about to kiss? They did not kiss. They hugged. It was cute, but I wanted them to kiss. So then we get back to the actual reality, and I guess the alternative reality kind of encouraged Damascus to actually go see Red and be with him and his family for Thanksgiving. It was cute. It wasn't as many people as in the other reality, but we still seen Lynn Whitfield as Red's mom. We see Red's dad, and it was Red and Damascus there for family dinner. And then at this point, Damascus went outside to, smoke a little bit, and Red goes out to join them and kind of have a heart to heart. I really think that Red is a good friend. He went out and have a heart to heart and kind of pressed Damascus like, what's up with you trying to be alone for the holidays? Like, you got people who love you, right? Like, act like it. And then that's where Damascus kind of was like, I don't trust you. And that kind of set Red off, understandably so, because what the fuck you mean you don't trust me? We've been friends for this long. You just now told me you don't trust me. But then Red kind of giving him grace for that. Like, yeah, he was pissed off, but he was just like, I'll take it a step further. You don't trust nobody, which is essentially the truth. But I feel like that was a conversation that both of them needed to have. And that basically sums up the 4th episode. So now we only have 2 episodes left. Let's get into episode 5. Damascus kind of have to, the therapist, calls him out and kind of says it's fake accountability. It's like, you knew that I know that you broke into my office, so you kind of wanted to make it appear that you're taking accountability, but that's not what you're doing. She basically essentially says, this is substance abuse. You broke into my office to use this dirt so you could basically escape your current reality, which is definitely true. So Damascus kind of have to be real with himself and a therapist, and he was saying how with each alternate reality that he visits, he low-key is trying to find his mom. We learned that his mom passed away 5 years ago on Thanksgiving, so everything is starting to make sense. So now he enters a different reality to see if he could essentially face his mother in another reality and just see if he could see her, which we'll get into later, I thought was interesting, of what I thought was interesting. Demascus enters a new reality in which, of course, he's married to fucking Naomi and not Buddy. And this was cute because for this reality, of course, him and Naomi met on a TV show and it was called like Let's Get Married. It's kind of like Love at First Sight, essentially. And the host of the show is none other the therapist from his real reality. In this reality, Demascus is an artist. Again, they're followed by a camera crew. So both him and Naomi are performing to a certain extent during this part of the episode. We learned that Demascus have like a colony of isopods. I had to look up what the hell that was, but yeah, they're like little creature things, and he named them all after like the Wayans brothers, which I thought, or the Wayans family, which I thought was hilarious. So in this reality, Demascus is very strange. He gives killer vibes to me. Like while I was watching this, I'm like, Naomi girl, get out of here. Like he reminded me of Norman Bates because the way he said mother, like mother wouldn't like that. And then there was like a point where Naomi like touched I think she put on the mom's ring in the bathroom. He came in and he turned up, and at this point she like, okay, all right, this is weird. Of course, there was like an Amazon plug because this is the future. If Amazon there and there's a TV show, they're gonna sponsor it. So we get a little drone plug from Amazon because they own a TV show. And then we also learn why Demascus chose to have a colony of isopods, and of course, it has to do with his mother. He got those so I guess death won't hit him as hard because since there's so many, like if one of them dies, you essentially won't even know probably, and then two, there's so many that is just hard to tell. Like, I don't know, it just he used them as a way to kind of deal with death. And he also said that like the isopods was there so he can kind of give them his darkness. We're gonna learn what that darkness is in a few moments. So then we like snap back to the regular reality in which we learn how the mother actually don't appear in any of his realities. The therapist notes and shares that with Demascus. And she kind of says that her Demascus mother death is like essentially a part of his makeup, which I feel like is reflected in all of these different realities. But before they got back to the reality, we learned that Demascus was low key a killer. The Naomi in this reality where they met on a dating show at late at night, she goes to look at the isopods and then she noticed that the mother's hand was up in there. Once she realized that, she turned around and guess who was fucking behind her? Exactly. Then they went back to reality. My bad. So after sharing this insightful discovery with Demascus, the therapist decides to take him to another reality and attempt to see if he could see his mom in this new reality. So in this new reality, he's a writer. His mom is a high school teacher who's retiring. So everyone and the entire community loves her. She's definitely adored. They're waiting. Basically, it's like a whole ceremony where everybody is going up, saying their thank yous to her, and which since Demascus is her son, everybody is kind of giving him like the grand finale speech. And in this reality, yes, mom is there. However, we don't see her. Like we see a silhouette of her. If she was sitting in the audience, it's a bright light in the back, so it's just like dark. We don't see her. And not for nothing, like the whole ceremony, the way it was presented, it gave off like funeral vibes rather than like a retirement ceremony. So Red, of course, is his friend in this reality as well, and they kind of had a little conversation before it was time for Demascus to go up and give his speech. And then Demascus was like kind of, sharing with him like he don't feel connected to his mother. He felt like his mother put him last. Essentially, she went above and beyond for the community and everybody else, but when it came to him, there was nothing left for him. So he didn't really feel like he knew her. So Red was like, go confront her. I mean, not now because, it's a whole ceremony and stuff, but he encouraged him to eventually have that conversation because he like, why you telling me? You should be telling your mom. So he goes on stage to kind of get ready to say his speech, and then we get back to him at the therapist's office. So in this alternate reality, Demascus is going to therapy as well. There's still the dirt therapy immersion thing that's happening in this alternate reality as well. And we know he's still in the alternate reality because he has dreads. He don't have dreads in the real reality. He has the same therapist and everything, in which he shares with her that when he went up on stage to give his speech for his mom, he ended up having a seizure and passing out. So in this reality, Demascus is like, hey, why don't we try this immersive therapy to see if I could go to an alternate reality to try to connect with my mother. And that's where things kind of get tricky because he's already in a different reality. So the fact that this Damascus in this alternative reality is trying to enter a different reality kind of makes things weird. So in real life, it started malfunctioning and stuff. So the therapist is freaking out, and all you hear is patient override, patient override, patient override. We don't know what that means, but we're about to find out. And that concludes episode 5. Now we're on the final episode of Demascus, episode 6. And this is titled Season 2 Prequel. So, will we get a season 2? I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. And in this episode, obviously something is wrong because we see Damascus kind of going in and out of different realities. So eventually he ends up strapped to like a gurney or something in this new reality in which people aren't calling him Damascus. They're calling him Demarcus. So in this reality, he's actually in like a mental hospital. Apparently, he was like a veggie state until now in this reality. So him coming to life in this reality and speaking to everyone got everybody freaking out. Naomi was the nurse in this reality, and she damn near smacked the hell out of him when he spoke because he's supposed to be a vegetable. You're a vegetable. And then so it switches back to this other reality where Damascus is on a plane and there's like turbulence and there's things going wrong, and he's like literally the only passenger on this plane. So it's going back and forth between Damascus being on this plane trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and then him in this insane asylum essentially. So of course, once we go back to the insane asylum reality, Damascus, or in that case Demarcus in this reality, is like telling everybody like, oh no, you guys got it all wrong. This isn't my reality. This is your reality. This ain't for me. I got to get back to mine. And of course, he looks crazy because he's already in a nut house. You know what I'm saying? And we also learn that Red is in this asylum with him as well. But Red isn't red in this reality. He's blue. But of course, Damascus is calling everyone he knows there by the name that he knows them in his real life. So he's trying to explain to him what dirt is and tell him about this immersive therapy. And everyone's intrigued because they think it's just like a cool story. None of these people believe him. Not even the people that's even in the same asylum too. Like not even the people that's in the hospital with him. They like, man, you crazy like me. Shut the hell up. So again, he keeps going on about primary reality, and that's just making people want to keep him in there as long as possible. Now, one of the things that cracked me up from this episode was it was like this white dude up in there, and he suffered from debilitating white guilt. Look at this.
Sebs. He suffers from debilitating white guilt. He went full liberal and can't reconcile the fact that he's actually the enemy. I don't blame him, I get it. Poor thing can't even play chess anymore. He used to be a master. Colonizer!
I'm not mad at it. I'm not. Of course, Demarcus. I'm gonna call him what his name is in this life or in this reality. So Demarcus is hanging out with Blue, and Blue is putting him on to everyone. So he's going down every person that's been admitted in here, and he's like, yeah, this is why he in there, this is why he in there, but they crazy. I'm not. At one point earlier in the episode, Buddy tells them, like, I got a girl named Buddy Banks, in which fast forward to this part where I'm talking about where he's talking to Blue, and then he's like, oh, Blue was like, there go your girl. Tell me why Buddy Banks got a fucking TV show in this reality. So now everybody really think he crazy. So Blue is just like, yo, you gonna be okay in here if you just do what I do. So they go and they take the pills, and then like it appears as if Blue is taking his pill, but he didn't. He like hid it somewhere, but then Damascus takes it, and this look at this clip. I thought this part cracked me up.
4-day acid every time.
You didn't take. Hey! You didn't take the pill.
Hell no, did you?
You said I should follow your lead. So
I didn't swallow.
how was I supposed to know that?
Facts.
What's gonna happen?
So after the little pill situation, it switches back to Damascus being on the plane, the empty plane, in which he makes it to the cockpit and sees that the pilot is actually him. It's him too. There's two of him on this plane. And then we segue back to the asylum in which his sister, whose name is Shayna, is here and is visiting him. This part warms my heart because Drew is here, although I know it was an alternate reality. It was just really refreshing to see that he was good, and it was the same for Damascus as well because he was like, yo, Drew, you're good. And then she brings up the baby, in which in this reality, he's been a vegetable. In this reality, Sheena has been coming to visit him while he's been like in this coma and just been speaking to him. So to them, they're like, okay, you probably just you heard me while I was in there. Because Damascus asked them about the pregnancy because in the first reality we visited, she was pregnant and whatnot. And in this reality, that also applies. So they're trying to figure out like how he knew that, but they was just like, oh, you just heard me when I was in here. Okay, no biggie. So while he's with Shayna, he's also trying to, let her know that one, my name is Damascus, not Demarcus, and this is an alternate reality. But also, Shayna in this reality belongs to this reality, so she kind of thinks he's crazy as well. And she's like, yo, you've been talking like that for a very long time. And so she gives him this book that it kind of looks exactly like the tether book that the therapist gave him in like episode 1 or 2. And so he got excited, but then he opens it and realized it's actually just a regular journal with regular paper. Blue and Demarcus are roommates in this place, in which like everything was cool. Like, red or blue, I'm sorry, probably should have taken those pills because we realized exactly why he's in there. In which he just started beating the fuck out of Damascus. Oh my goodness. I don't know. He just started beating the fuck out of him. And then Damascus tried to use his words to get him to stop, but again, he's not acknowledging him as blue. He's telling him as red that he's red, and he's like, "Yo, I know you. You wouldn't hurt me. You would never do this. You got a daughter named Tarantula. You got this, this, and that." And then it looks like Blue's on the same page until he fucking stabs Damascus. After the stabbing, we head right back to the plane, still trying to figure out what's going on. And then we make it back to the asylum, in which, of course, Damascus or Demarcus is on the nurse's bed because he was just stabbed by Blue. Of course, his nurse is Naomi, and she's there to, treat him, in which he scares her again because he just like popped back out. Because I'm assuming anytime he like faints or passed out in this reality, it's him going back to the plane. So once he's on a plane, he's like passed out in that reality, and then once he's back in this reality, he's passed out on a plane. Question mark. At this point, Naomi is intrigued, and she's like, "Yo, you." She was like, "Why are you trying to find me in every reality?" I thought that was cute. So basically, she was like asking about the other alternate versions of her in all his realities, in which he actually didn't have much to say about her because in real life he don't really know her. He just knows essentially how she makes him feel, in which that's what he shared with her. And she's a wise, strong woman. So she's like, "Yo, that's all about you. What about me? What type of woman am I?" And then that's when he's like, "Well, actually, I don't know you, but I'm trying to get to know you. But then I got this girl named Buddy." He didn't say all that, but that's basically what he meant. And then, so after this conversation with Naomi, we get back to the plane, in which Damascus kind of takes control. So you have the Damascus that's passed out, the actual pilot, and then you have the one who found that Damascus. Maybe that's Demarcus. And basically, Damascus takes the wheel on the plane and becomes the pilot and controls it. After the conversation with his sister, we get back to the asylum. So after the conversation with his sister, Shayna, you can see that Damascus is like, okay, I got to get the fuck up out of here. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to play along. Once he make it back to that reality after the plane situation, we see him getting right to business. He goes to therapy and he's like, "Yo, yeah, you're right. I've been tripping. Like, it makes sense for me to say, Buddy, she's on TV. Like, I don't know. Thank you guys for checking me. Like, yeah, I was tripping. Ha 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 ha. Can I go home?" Like, the final question for the therapist for him to like see if he truly changed was like, "What's your name? What's your name, boy?" He was like, "Demarcus." So I was like, "Oh yeah, he really playing. He really trying to get up out of there." So he finally claims Demarcus. And there was like a little point. I'll play a clip of where he was saying,
And the world is as inhospitable as ever. And the only way to combat that shit is to know thyself through and through. So, I am going to take the time to find me.
and I feel like that was real. Again, the whole premise of the show is about Damascus, the 33-year-old, trying to find himself through dirt, essentially. So he says that, and I feel like that was for him to truly hold on to Damascus and not, get caught up in the life of being Demarcus. So we see him closer to the end of the episode, truly utilizing that journal that his sister Shayna gave him. In the beginning, it's a couple of little buffer pages just in case anyone finds it, a couple little fake drawings, and he's supposed to be a little off, so he just doodled and shit. But then once you get towards like the back of the journal, he writes down everything he remembers about being Damascus so he won't ever forget. He's like, "You're 33, you were born here, this, and that." And that's essentially how the episode and the season ends. I love this series, and I'm glad that we starting off with a bang for the first episode of There's a Lesson Here Somewhere. Now let's figure out the lesson. So I feel like for this series, Damascus definitely learned a lot about himself through these realities. So those realities, the Dirt program was definitely effective in that way. And for me, I feel like the lesson here, and this most of this comes from this last episode, like these last few moments, because again, the series premise is about him finding himself. So throughout the episodes 1 through 5, where he's been in his actual reality and even in the alternate realities, he kind of acted as if he like who he thought he was. So once we got to this reality where everything changed for him, everybody who he knew was calling him something else, was calling him something that he wasn't used to. So in this reality, this last little new reality where he's stuck in, mind you, he has to define himself. So in this reality, everybody is telling him who he is. And he like, hold up, wait a minute, that ain't my name. Like that ain't me. That ain't me. But everybody is telling him compared to like when he's in real life or whatever, he's kind of just taking it. But here he kind of has to stand 10 toes down because he's never been Demarcus, you know? So I feel like that is an analogy in a way for life. Like, and that is the lesson here. You can be told who you are, or you can discover you can discover who you are, or you can solely define who you are, and that is going to be based on your actions. Like now we're going on a little tangent. So I feel like that is the lesson here. The lesson here is for you to define who you are and not let anyone tell you who you are. Also take out the time to find out who you are, in which Damascus does that with all these therapy sessions. He's going in daily, he's committed to go into these virtual realities. Not to mention, he received all the constructive criticism from the people he loves, such as Red's dad in that alternate reality, such as the therapist. So this is essentially someone who is actively working towards becoming their best selves. And I feel like the cherry on top again was this last episode where again people are telling him who he was, and that wasn't aligned with who he knew himself to be. Even in the world where you do have to play pretend, y'all walk with me, y'all. Even in a world where you have to play pretend, where you have to participate, now we go into our reality when you have to participate in capitalism because you have to pay bills, you have to, got mouths to feed if you do, and you have to essentially play a role in order to get your things that you need, such as money, such roof over your head, whatever that may be. But even while you are playing the game, you can never forget who you are. Ooh, you feel me? You feel me? You feel me? See. That's why he was journaling and shit, because although he's about to play this game as Demarcus, he needs to know who he is deep down inside. So when he get back to that reality, that now we get into my predictions. So when he get back to his real reality, nobody could tell him who the fuck he is, because he just did all this work letting people know who he is and reminding himself who he is. So if anybody ever try to tell him when he get back to being in the Damascus reality, nobody can tell him shit. I just did all this work so I can know who I am. Like you're not no no. And I think that's the lesson behind Damascus. The lesson, to sum it up and keep it cute, let me put my hood back on because I'm feeling like Mary Magdalene. The lesson is know thyself. Do the work to figure out who you are. And if you can't figure out who you are, this is a great opportunity to define who you are. How do you define who you are? You decide who you want to be in your reality and you act accordingly. It's that simple. Will it happen overnight? No. But if you keep at it every day, you will become that. And that concludes the first episode of There's a Lesson Here Somewhere. I hope y'all enjoyed this first episode of There's a Lesson Here Somewhere. And if y'all fuck with me enough, I want to eventually get to a point where y'all will email me or message me and send me situations, your real life situations that you are having trouble finding the meaning or the lesson in it, and I'll help you. I'll help you. Eventually, we'll get there. So if you're planning on joining us for the second episode, just a heads up, we're going to be watching the film. We're going to watch a film next time called Invasive. I believe that's the name of it. If I got it wrong, I will definitely correct it in the description below. But that will be our next film. Of course, it's on Tubi. So you'll have 2 weeks because this will be a bi-weekly podcast for now. If y'all fuck with me, maybe we could do it weekly. So you'll have 2 weeks to watch Invasive, and then you can come back and recap and we'll find the meaning in it, right? So if you guys enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe. Please tell a friend. Tell a friend. Tell them to watch Damascus and then tell them to come listen to this. Because I know you like that. That show was this is a good start. I fuck with Damascus. Shout out to everyone who was a part of creating Damascus. You guys did a wonderful job. I'm impressed. And until next time.